During my 25th anniversary party, my husband stood up and said, "I need to confess something to everyone here. I've been married to another woman for the past 8 years." My husband Gregory stood at the head of our backyard garden where 80 guests sat at white-clothed tables under string lights and paper lanterns. I was holding a glass of champagne, smiling at our friends and family, thinking he was about to make a sweet toast about our quarter-century together. Instead, his words hit me with the force of a semi-truck. Our daughter Isabel dropped her fork, and it clattered against her plate. My mother gasped audibly from her seat near the front. Gregory's brother Lawrence stood up halfway, then sat back down looking completely confused. My best friend Natasha reached across the table to grab my hand, but I couldn't feel anything. My entire body had gone numb. Gregory continued speaking into the microphone our DJ had provided. "Her name is Simone Delgado. We got married in Las Vegas 8 years ago during what Rebecca thought was a work conference. We have 2 children together, a 7-year-old daughter named Maya and a 5-year-old son named Lucas. They're beautiful kids, and I love them as much as I love Isabel and Nathan." I found my voice, though. It came out strangled and foreign. "What are you talking about? This isn't funny." Gregory looked directly at me, and his expression was calm, almost serene, which made everything worse. "I know this is a shock, Rebecca. I've been living 2 separate lives for 8 years, and I can't do it anymore. The guilt is destroying me, and both of you deserve to know the truth." My son Nathan stood up from his seat so violently his chair fell backward. "Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you saying this here, in front of everyone?" Gregory set down the microphone and pulled papers from his jacket pocket. "Because I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of maintaining 2 households, 2 sets of holidays, 2 completely separate existences. I'm 52 years old and I want to live honestly for whatever time I have left." My sister Julia pushed through the crowd and got right in Gregory's face. "You're insane. You've lost your mind. Rebecca, don't listen to him. He's having some kind of breakdown." But I was staring at the papers Gregory held, legal documents with official seals visible even from 6 feet away. Marriage certificate dated 8 years ago. Birth certificates for 2 children I'd never heard of until 90 seconds earlier. Mortgage documents for a house in Riverside that I didn't know we owned. Bank statements showing a separate checking account with both his name and Simone Delgado's name on it. Gregory spread the documents across our anniversary cake, right on top of the silver 25 candles we hadn't lit yet. "I'm not having a breakdown. I'm finally being honest. I've been commuting between 2 families for almost a decade, telling each of you that I was traveling for work when I was actually living my other life. Rebecca thought I was consulting for companies across the state. Simone thought I was managing properties in Northern California. Both stories were elaborate lies built on years of careful scheduling and deception." Natasha stood up and her voice cut through the shocked silence. "You're telling us you maintained 2 complete marriages, 2 households, 2 sets of children, and neither woman knew about the other?" Gregory nodded. "Simone thinks I'm at a business conference right now. This anniversary party was the perfect cover because it's something I couldn't reschedule or avoid without raising suspicion. So I decided to use it to finally tell the truth." My mother was crying now, and my father had his arm around her shoulders while glaring at Gregory with pure hatred. Isabel had her phone out, recording everything, tears streaming down her face. Nathan looked frozen in place, his face pale and his hands clenched into fists. Lawrence approached his brother slowly. "Greg, why are you doing this? What do you want from Rebecca? Money? A divorce? What's the end game here?" Gregory's expression was maddeningly peaceful. "I want everyone to know the truth. I want to stop lying. I want both Rebecca and Simone to understand what I've done so they can make informed decisions about their futures. I love both of them. I love all my children. But I can't keep pretending I'm 2 different people anymore." I finally found the strength to move and walked up to him on shaking legs. "You love me? You've been lying to me for 8 years and you claim you love me?" My voice was rising and I didn't care. "You stood in this same backyard 5 years ago and renewed our vows. You gave a speech about commitment and honesty and building a life together. Was Simone pregnant with your 2nd child when you were telling me you wanted to grow old with me?" Gregory's calm facade cracked slightly. "Lucas was 4 months old during our vow renewal." "Yes." I slapped him, hard enough that his head snapped to the side and several guests gasped. "Where did you get the money for a 2nd household? We've been saving for retirement. We put both kids through college. How did you afford a whole other family?" Gregory rubbed his cheek but didn't step back. "I've been embezzling from my company for 6 years. Small amounts that wouldn't trigger audits, routed through shell companies and offshore accounts. The consulting fees I told you about were real income. But I was also skimming from client accounts and expense reports. Nobody's noticed yet because I'm good at covering my tracks, but it's only a matter of time before someone finds the discrepancies." The confession kept getting worse. Not just bigamy, but financial crimes. Not just betrayal, but systematic fraud. My father stood up and pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police. You just admitted to multiple felonies in front of 80 witnesses." Gregory didn't try to stop him. "Go ahead. I'm done running. I want everything out in the open." Julia grabbed my arm. "Rebecca, come inside. You don't need to stand here listening to this." But I couldn't move. I needed to understand the full scope of what he'd done. "Does she look like me? Simone, did you replace me with a younger version?" Gregory shook his head. "She's 3 years older than you. She's a paralegal. We met at a legal conference where I was speaking about property management contracts. She's kind and intelligent, and she had no idea I was already married. Natasha's voice was sharp. How did you manage holidays? How did you explain missing Christmas morning or Thanksgiving dinner? Gregory had apparently prepared for these questions. I told Rebecca I was visiting my uncle in Arizona for Thanksgiving and Christmas morning. Then I'd drive back for Christmas afternoon and dinner. I told Simone I was managing properties in the Bay Area that required my presence on holidays due to tenant emergencies. I'd spend Christmas Eve with Simone and the kids, leave at 5 a.m., drive here for Christmas morning with Rebecca and our children, then make excuses about work emergencies in the afternoon. The logistics were staggering. The planning required to maintain such elaborate deception took more effort than most people put into their entire careers. Isabel finally spoke, and her voice was breaking. All those times you missed my dance recitals because of work trips. Were you at your other daughter's school events? Gregory's eyes filled with tears. Sometimes, yes. Maya's been in gymnastics since she was 4. I've tried to split my time equally, but it was impossible to be everywhere. I've missed important moments with all of you because I was trying to be in 2 places at once. Nathan moved forward, and for a moment I thought he might hit his father. Don't you dare cry. You don't get to be the victim here. You chose this. You chose to destroy 2 families instead of 1. Police sirens were audible in the distance. My father must have emphasized the embezzlement confession because they were responding quickly. Gregory looked around at the faces of our friends and family, all of them showing various degrees of shock, anger, and disgust. I know you all hate me right now. I hate myself, but I couldn't keep living the lie. Both families deserved to know. I found my voice again, and it came out cold and steady. Where does Simone think you are right now? Gregory checked his watch. At the Marriott downtown attending evening conference sessions. I told her I'd call her around 10 p.m. after the networking events ended. I grabbed his phone from his pocket before he could stop me and unlocked it using his fingerprint while he was still disoriented. His home screen showed 2 separate messaging apps. One labeled Personal that contained texts with me, Isabel, and Nathan. Another labeled Work that contained messages with Simone and his other children. I opened the Work app and found hundreds of messages. Family photos, videos of children I'd never met, conversations about mundane daily life mixed with love messages and future planning. I found Simone's contact information and hit the call button. Gregory tried to grab the phone, but Lawrence held him back. The call rang 4 times before a woman's voice answered. Hey baby, conference going okay? Kids just went to bed. My voice was remarkably steady. This isn't Gregory. This is his other wife, Rebecca. We need to talk. There was a long silence. I'm sorry. Who is this? I took a breath. My name is Rebecca Thornton. I've been married to Gregory Thornton for 25 years. We're currently at our anniversary party where he just confessed to everyone that he's been married to you for 8 years while still married to me. He has 2 children with you that I didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago. I think you should come to our address right now and see for yourself what your husband has been doing. More silence. Then Simone's voice came back, shaking. This is some kind of prank. Gregory's at a conference. He sent me photos from the hotel this morning. I felt a savage satisfaction at destroying her illusions the way Gregory had destroyed mine. Those photos were probably from a different hotel during an actual trip. He's standing in my backyard right now with legal documents proving he married you while still married to me. He just admitted to embezzling money to support both households. The police are on their way. I heard something crash on Simone's end of the call. I don't believe you. Let me talk to Gregory. I handed the phone to him and his face had gone gray. Simone, everything Rebecca said is true. I'm so sorry. I never meant for either of you to find out this way. I couldn't hear Simone's response, but Gregory's expression crumbled as she apparently screamed at him through the phone. He tried to speak several times, but she must have been talking over him. Finally, the call ended and he stood there holding the phone limply. She's coming here. She's bringing the kids. Isabel looked horrified. Your other children? I'm going to meet my half-siblings at my parents' anniversary party? Nathan was pacing back and forth. This is insane. This isn't real life. Things like this don't actually happen. But they did happen, apparently. And we were all living through it in real time with 80 witnesses who'd come expecting to celebrate love and commitment. Instead, they were watching a marriage detonate in spectacular fashion. 2 police cars pulled up front and officers came through the side gate. My father met them and pointed at Gregory. That man just confessed to bigamy and embezzlement in front of everyone here. We have video evidence of his confession. The officers looked at each other and then at the crowd of party guests still seated at tables with their dinner plates half empty. One officer stepped forward. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us and answer some questions. Gregory didn't resist. I understand. I knew this would happen when I decided to tell the truth. He looked at me one final time. Rebecca, I'm sorry. I know that means nothing right now, but I am genuinely sorry for the pain I've caused. I couldn't form words. The officer started reading Gregory his rights, while guests recorded everything on their phones. Nathan and Isabel stood together looking shell-shocked. My mother was still crying, and my father looked like he wanted to hit someone. Julia kept her arm around me, but I felt completely disconnected from my body. The officers led Gregory away just as a car screeched to a stop out front. A woman in her mid-50s jumped out, and 2 young children were visible in the back seat. Simone Delgado was taller than me with dark hair going silver at the temples. She wore jeans and a sweatshirt with coffee stains. Her face was blotchy from crying and her hands were shaking as she approached our backyard. "Where is he? Where's Gregory?" My father blocked her path. "He just got arrested. The police took him for questioning about bigamy and embezzlement." Simone's face went white. "It's true then. He really is married to you." I stepped forward and we faced each other. Two women who'd unknowingly shared a husband for 8 years. "I had no idea you existed until tonight." He confessed at our anniversary party in front of everyone. Simone looked around at the decorations, the guests, the anniversary cake covered with legal documents. 25 years. He's been with you for 25 years. Her voice broke. He told me he was divorced. He said his ex-wife lived in Northern California and they'd agreed to keep things amicable for their kids. I met him 8 years ago at a work conference. He was charming and attentive, and he said he'd been alone for 3 years after his divorce. Everything he told me was a lie. The children in her car were staring out the window, and I could see they looked terrified. Simone noticed me looking, and her expression hardened. Those are his children, too. Maya and Lucas. They think their father is a property manager who travels for work. Now they're going to learn he's a criminal who already had another family. Isabel stepped forward hesitantly. "I'm Isabel. I'm 23. I guess we're half-sisters." She gestured to Nathan. "This is Nathan. He's 21. Simone looked at my children and fresh tears started falling. "He showed me pictures of you. He said you were his niece and nephew from his brother's marriage. I thought it was sweet that he kept photos of his extended family on his phone." Nathan's voice was bitter. "Everything was a lie. Every single thing." Lawrence approached carefully. "I'm Gregory's brother. I had no idea about any of this. He never mentioned you or your children. I thought he was traveling for work." Simone laughed, but it sounded broken. "We all thought he was traveling for work. That was the perfect cover. He could be with either family and always have an excuse for why he had to leave." The party guests were slowly filing out, giving us privacy for this nightmare conversation. Some offered sympathetic looks or whispered condolences. Others just hurried away, clearly uncomfortable. Our DJ packed up his equipment in silence. The caterers started clearing tables. Natasha stayed close to me, along with Julia and my parents. Simone's children got out of the car and approached their mother. Maya looked about 7 with dark hair and braids. Lucas was smaller, maybe 5, with Gregory's eyes. They stared at all of us with confusion and fear. Maya asked in a small voice, "Mama, where's Daddy? You said we were going to see Daddy." Simone knelt down and pulled her children close. "Daddy had to go answer some questions for the police. He did some things that were wrong, and we need to figure out what happens next." Lucas started crying. "Did Daddy do something bad? Is he going to jail?" I felt my heart break for these innocent children who were learning their entire reality was built on lies. Simone was crying too as she tried to comfort them. "I don't know, baby. I don't know what's going to happen." Nathan crouched down to Lucas's level. "Hey, I'm Nathan. I'm your big brother, I guess. Your dad is also my dad. It's complicated and confusing, but none of this is your fault." Lucas looked at Nathan with wide eyes. "You're my brother?" Maya was staring at Isabel. "Are you our sister too?" Isabel nodded, tears running down her face. "Yeah, I am. This is really weird for all of us." I watched my children meet their half-siblings and felt anger rising through the numbness. Gregory had created this situation. He'd brought children into the world while maintaining lies that would inevitably destroy them all. Simone stood up and faced me again. "I need to know everything. How long have you actually been married?" He said he was divorced 10 years ago. I pulled out my phone and showed her our wedding album from 25 years ago. Photos of Gregory young and handsome in his tuxedo. Me in my white dress surrounded by bridesmaids. Our families celebrating together. Then I showed her photos from recent years. Anniversary trips, holiday celebrations, family dinners. Evidence of an ongoing marriage that contradicted everything he'd told her. Simone scrolled through the photos with shaking hands. "He was with me when some of these were taken. This Christmas photo where you're all opening presents. He was at our house that morning. He gave Maya a bicycle and Lucas a train set. Then he left around noon saying he had a property emergency." She looked up at me. "How many times did he leave you on holidays?" I thought back through the years. Every Thanksgiving dinner he'd leave early saying his uncle in Arizona needed help. Every Christmas morning he'd disappear by noon claiming work emergencies. New Year's Eve, he'd always have overnight property issues that required his immediate attention. I thought he was dedicated to his job. Instead, he was rushing between 2 families. Simone pulled up her own photos. Gregory with Maya on her first day of kindergarten. Gregory teaching Lucas to ride a bike. Gregory at their apartment in Riverside, smiling at the camera with Simone's arms around him. He was supposed to be looking at investment properties in the Bay Area during most of these. He said the properties required constant attention, so he was gone 3 or 4 days every week. The logistics suddenly made sense. He'd split his time roughly in half, telling each of us he was working when he was actually living his other life. My mother spoke up, her voice hard. "Did he give you money? Did he support you financially?" Simone nodded. "He paid rent on our apartment and gave me money for groceries and the kids' expenses. I work as a paralegal, but my income barely covers basics. Gregory said he wanted to help since we were building a life together. I thought he was generous." My father's voice was cold. "He was embezzling from his company to fund both households. The money he gave you was stolen. Simone looked horrified. I had no idea. I would never have accepted it if I'd known. She turned to me. I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I genuinely didn't know he was married. He showed me divorce papers. They looked official. I trusted him completely. I believed her because her pain was too raw to be fake. We were both victims of Gregory's systematic deception. Julia asked the practical question everyone was avoiding. What happens now? Legally, I mean. Can someone be charged with bigamy in this state? Natasha pulled out her phone and started searching. Bigamy is a felony in California. Up to 3 years in prison and fines. The second marriage is automatically void. She looked at Simone. Your marriage to Gregory was never legal. His marriage to Rebecca was still active when he married you. Simone sank onto one of the party chairs. 8 years. I was never actually married. My children are illegitimate. Everything was fake. Maya tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mama? What does that mean? Are you and Daddy not married? Simone pulled Maya onto her lap. It's complicated, sweetie. We're going to figure it out. Lawrence had been quiet, but now he spoke. Greg mentioned embezzlement. How much are we talking about? I thought about our finances. We had savings of about $180,000 that I'd believed came from Gregory's consulting work. Our house was paid off. Both kids had graduated college debt-free because Gregory had covered tuition. I'd never questioned where the money came from because he'd always been good at managing finances. Now I realized he must have stolen hundreds of thousands to maintain 2 households for 8 years. I don't know exactly, but our expenses plus Simone's household plus whatever he was spending on his travel between the two, it has to be substantial. Simone was calculating too. Our rent is $2,800 a month, plus groceries, utilities, kids' expenses. He was giving me about $4,000 a month total. Over 8 years, that's almost $400,000 just for us. My mother gasped. He stole nearly $500,000. Nathan pulled out his phone. I'm calling Dad's company. They need to know what he confessed to tonight. Lawrence stopped him. The police will handle that. They'll investigate the embezzlement as part of the criminal case. I felt exhausted and overwhelmed. 2 hours ago, I'd been celebrating 25 years of marriage. Now I was facing divorce, financial ruin, and the collapse of everything I'd believed about my life. Simone looked equally destroyed, sitting in a stranger's backyard with her children, learning that the man she'd loved for 8 years had never been legally hers. What do we do now? She asked quietly. I didn't have an answer. Julia took charge. Rebecca, you need a lawyer immediately. Simone, you probably do too. Gregory's confession means there will be criminal charges, divorce proceedings, financial investigations, and custody issues for all the children involved. She looked at Maya and Lucas. Those kids have rights to their father's support even though the marriage was void. Simone nodded numbly. I can't afford a lawyer. I barely make ends meet as it is. My father surprised everyone by speaking up. We'll help. Gregory created this mess and dragged you into it unknowingly. The children are innocent. We'll figure out how to provide legal support for everyone. Simone started crying again. Why would you help me? I'm the other woman even though I didn't know it. My mother's voice was firm. You're a victim of my son-in-law's lies, just like my daughter. Those children are my granddaughter's siblings whether we knew about them or not. Family is family, even when it's complicated. I looked at Maya and Lucas sitting close to their mother, scared and confused. They were connected to Isabel and Nathan by blood. They were Gregory's children. Whatever anger I felt toward him couldn't extend to innocent kids who'd done nothing wrong. The police called my phone around midnight. Gregory had confessed to everything during questioning and was being held pending arraignment. The embezzlement investigation would begin immediately. His company was being notified. They needed me to come to the station to give a formal statement. I drove there in a daze with Julia beside me for support. At the station, a detective led me into an interview room and asked detailed questions about our finances, Gregory's work schedule, anything suspicious I might have noticed. I explained that I'd trusted him completely. He'd managed our money, handled the bills, made investment decisions. I'd been focused on my own career as a graphic designer and raising our children. I'd never thought to question his work trips or late nights. The detective was sympathetic but thorough. Did you notice any unusual purchases or withdrawals? I thought back. He bought a new truck 2 years ago. Paid cash. He said it was from a bonus. Could that have been stolen money? The detective made notes. Possibly. We'll need access to all your financial records to trace the embezzlement. His company is cooperating fully and providing their documentation. It appears he's been skimming from client accounts and expense reports for at least 6 years, maybe longer. I felt sick. What happens to me financially? If he stole money, does that mean I'm liable? The detective shook her head. You're a victim here. You had no knowledge of the crimes. The company might try to recover assets, but generally, innocent spouses aren't held responsible for criminal activities they didn't know about or participate in. I gave my formal statement and signed paperwork. When I left the station at 2 a.m., Simone was in the waiting area. She'd brought the kids to stay with her sister and come back to give her own statement. We made eye contact and she stood up. Can we talk? We went to an all-night diner across the street and sat in a booth with terrible coffee neither of us could drink. Simone spoke first. I need you to know I never would have gotten involved with a married man knowingly. When I met Gregory, I'd been divorced for 2 years from an abusive marriage. I was lonely and scared of trusting anyone. Gregory seemed safe and stable. He said all the right things. I believed her because I'd met the same Gregory 25 years ago. Charming, attentive, seemingly trustworthy. How did he explain his schedule to you? Being gone half the week every week? Simone wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. He said he managed multiple properties across Northern California and had to visit them regularly. He'd leave Sunday or Monday and come back Wednesday or Thursday. Then he'd be around for a few days before leaving again. It seemed normal for his job. I thought about his schedule from my perspective. He'd tell me he was consulting for companies in Southern California and the Central Valley. He'd leave Wednesday or Thursday and come back Saturday or Sunday. Then he'd spend a few days home before traveling again. Neither of us got more than half his time. Simone looked pained. Half a husband, half a father for our kids. We were each living with a ghost who was only partly present. The detective came into the diner and approached our booth. Mrs. Thornton, Ms. Delgado, I have updates on the investigation. Gregory's company has identified embezzlement of approximately $620,000 over 6 years. He created false vendor accounts and submitted fraudulent expense reports. The money was funneled through offshore accounts before being transferred to personal use. Simone gasped. Over $500,000. The detective nodded. He's being charged with wire fraud, tax evasion, and bigamy. He'll be arraigned Monday morning. I wanted you both to know that the district attorney views you as victims, not accomplices. After the detective left, Simone and I sat in silence. Finally, she spoke. My kids are going to lose their father. He'll go to prison and they'll grow up visiting him in jail. I thought about Nathan and Isabel, who were legally adults but still needed their father. All the kids are losing him. He destroyed every relationship simultaneously. Simone looked at me with red, exhausted eyes. Do you think he loved either of us? Or was it all manipulation? I'd been asking myself the same question. I don't know. Maybe he loved the idea of us. Maybe he loved having 2 separate lives that gave him an escape from reality. But real love doesn't involve systematic lies. We exchanged phone numbers before leaving the diner. Neither of us knew what came next, but we agreed to stay in communication for the children's sake. Maya, Lucas, Nathan, and Isabel were siblings, whether Gregory's lies had intended that or not. Gregory's arraignment happened Monday morning. I attended with Nathan and Isabel. Simone was there with Lawrence and Maya. The courtroom was packed with reporters because the story had gone viral. Man confesses to bigamy and embezzlement at anniversary party had become national news. The judge read the charges. 1 count of bigamy, 43 counts of wire fraud, 18 counts of tax evasion. Gregory stood beside his public defender looking smaller and older than I'd ever seen him. He pleaded guilty to all charges. The prosecutor recommended maximum sentencing, given the systematic nature of the crimes and the multiple victims. The judge set sentencing for 6 weeks out. Gregory was denied bail due to flight risk and the severity of charges. He'd remain in county jail until sentencing. As they led him away, he looked at me and mouthed, "I'm sorry." I felt nothing. The divorce proceedings moved quickly given his guilty plea and incarceration. California is a no-fault state, but his crimes gave me grounds for an immediate dissolution. My lawyer ensured I wouldn't be held liable for the embezzlement repayments. The house was mine since it had been purchased before the fraud began. His retirement accounts were frozen as potential assets for restitution. Simone filed a civil suit for child support and fraud. Even though her marriage had been void, Lucas and Maya were legally his children and entitled to support. The court agreed. Gregory's company fired him and began civil proceedings to recover stolen funds. They garnished his future wages and placed liens on any assets not protected by my divorce settlement or the children's support claims. Sentencing day arrived. The judge reviewed victim impact statements from both families. Nathan and Isabel wrote about betrayal and destroyed trust. Maya and Lucas's statements, read by Simone, described confusion and abandonment. The judge sentenced Gregory to 12 years in federal prison for the financial crimes and 3 years for bigamy to be served concurrently. He'd be eligible for parole after 8 years. He'd spend most of his 50s and early 60s in prison. As they led him away, Gregory looked at all his children sitting together in the gallery, Nathan and Isabel on one side, Maya and Lucas on the other, 4 kids connected by blood and betrayal. He started to say something but stopped. There was nothing left to say. 6 months later, Nathan graduated with his master's degree. Simone brought Maya and Lucas to the ceremony, and we sat together as a blended family born from lies but choosing connection. Isabel had started teaching Maya to dance. Nathan helped Lucas with homework twice a week. We had dinners together monthly, working through the awkwardness of being family without Gregory as the connection. Simone and I weren't friends exactly, but we'd developed mutual respect. We'd both loved a man who didn't exist. We'd both built lives on foundations of deception. We were both rebuilding with the truth, however painful. The kids were what mattered now. They deserved relationships with each other despite their father's choices. 1 year after the confession, I attended Maya's gymnastics competition. She performed beautifully and won 2nd place in her age group. When she came off the mat, she ran to hug her mother first, then Isabel, then me. Did you see? Did you see my routine? I hugged her tight. You were amazing. She beamed up at me. This child I hadn't known existed 12 months ago. Nathan and Lucas were in the stands with my parents, cheering loudly. We were a family now. Not the family any of us had planned, but the family we'd built from the wreckage Gregory left behind. I'd stopped trying to understand why he'd done it. The why didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that 4 children had adults who loved them. 2 women had learned they were stronger than they'd known, and from absolute destruction, we'd created something real. Gregory had wanted to live honestly, he'd said that night. Instead, he'd taught us all that honesty built through the ruins of lies was more valuable than anything. 3 years after that anniversary party, I stood at Isabel's wedding beside my parents, Julia, and Simone's family. Nathan walked his sister down the aisle. Maya and Lucas were junior attendants. We'd become the family Gregory's lies had tried to keep separated. His attempt to live 2 lives had ultimately united us in ways he'd never imagined. That was justice enough. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely want to see the next ones too. So subscribe now and let me know your take in the comments.